Joining us now from Normandy, France, is NBC's Peter Alexander. Also with us is Admiral James Stavridis, former Supreme Allied Commander at NATO and NBC News chief international analyst. Peter, the president linked the Allied effort to the international coalition to support Ukraine. What do you expect him to address in his speech tomorrow? And Peter, just kind of take us there today. You are in one of the most sacred, extraordinary places on Earth. What's it like, and what was it like?
Jose, these are obviously very hallowed grounds, and it's awe-inspiring every time you're here. It is humbling. It is sobering, but it's almost as powerful as anything to help celebrate the veterans now, many of them 100 or more senior than that, coming back. They are the real stars of this day, and the president honored them, the French President Emmanuel Macron today, giving them the highest military honor that France can give, the French Legion, to these individuals. 9,388 American service members are buried behind me, many of them laying down their lives, of course, on D-Day here. The president harnessing the heroism of those days to draw comparisons, parallels to the war that is now marred parts of Europe with another dictator, and this time it is Russian President Vladimir Putin trying to sort of extend his reach across the continent. These are such powerful images because the president warns they threaten to happen again if America and its alliance doesn't stay strong. Among those in attendance today, somebody who knows this region, this story as well as anybody, the Oscar-winning actor Tom Hanks, and we had a chance to speak with him a short time ago as well. Take a listen.
We have a few men and women who I see as being 16, 17, 18, maybe 25 years old, and they might be in wheelchairs now, but they're represented by everything that is here. Were it not for their choice to come and do the right thing 80 years ago, you and I would not be staying here.
As our friend and the historian John Meacham said, this is all about the retelling. It's making the ancient new, which has become a sacred ritual so other generations can understand the bravery, the service, and the sacrifice that took place here. Jose?
And Peter, just all things are political in the world, especially in an election year. But tomorrow, the president's going to be going to Pont du Hoc, where President Reagan gave one of his most memorable speeches on the 40th anniversary of D-Day. Is this an intentional comparison?
I think it is in many ways. That, of course, is where President Ronald Reagan in 1984, June 6th of 84, immortalized the boys of Pont du Hoc. It's a place that, if you're not familiar, there was a huge steep cliff where these American Army Rangers helped scale that cliff, and they were able to overtake and to attack the German bunkers there, really one of the first steps in the effort to reclaim this continent. And it is that backdrop that the president, the White House, will be using tomorrow, the very same location when President Biden delivers his remarks. The political backdrop, of course, is that this is a president who is seeking re-election just 5 months from now. That helped propel Ronald Reagan to his re-election in 1984. It was a story that was so compelling because it was a story of sacrifice, but also a story of protecting American democracy. And it is that very theme right now that Joe Biden is trying to strike again throughout his remarks. It's one I think we'll hear from him when we see him again tomorrow, Jose.
Yeah, indeed. And Admiral, just been thinking about what your thoughts are like today.
You know, I was there at the 50th anniversary. I was very young. I was the captain of a destroyer for the first time, and my orders were to anchor off of Omaha Beach the night before the 50th anniversary. And as dawn broke that day, the 350 members of my crew, unordered, just came up on deck to stand and watch that beach and think about their predecessors, Navy sailors, Army Rangers, all who participated on that day. And here's a fundamental point, Jose. I looked to my left and my right along that beach, and there were anchored the warships of 15 different nations, all the nations who participated in the liberation of Europe. Many of them are European allies, of course, the Canadians, the Australians as well. And thus, I think the president's speech today was particularly powerful when he touched on the vitality and the importance of alliances. The Germans were on their own on those beaches. They faced 15 different nations. Today, only Russia is invading Ukraine. They face a mighty coalition in NATO. Alliances matter a lot. Days like this help us remember that.
Yeah, and Admiral, just the valor of extraordinary young men and women that were involved as well in so many ways. But just, you know, when dawn broke in 1944, and as Peter was telling us, 9,388 souls buried right there in Omaha Beach. It's kind of tough to put into context just how difficult and almost impossible that mission was for these people. And they carried it out knowing that this was probably their last day on Earth.
Absolutely. And if you want just the tiniest glimpse of what it might have felt like, pop open Saving Private Ryan and watch the first 20 minutes and think of yourself with the door of that landing craft flopping into the sea, and you step into a hail of machine gun fire and explosions to right and left. Your closest friends are literally dying in front of you. It's an incomprehensible moment. And you said a moment ago, Jose, the youth, how young they were. And they were so young. And yet they were volunteers, and they stood with courage and honor and commitment, and they delivered on those beaches. A final thought, by the way, those were the young people on the beach. Their commander, General Eisenhower, later President Eisenhower, wrote famously a speech in which, if the mission had failed and he had to withdraw those troops under fire, he wrote a letter and was going to publish the speech which said, "Any blame or fault is mine alone." That kind of accountability at the very top of our leadership could be a message to some of our political leaders today.
Oh, my gosh, could it ever? Peter Alexander and Admiral James Stavridis. And, Peter, you know, that place where you are, it's been one of the places that have most moved me of my entire life. I was privileged enough to be able to go there twice. And there's an inscription on a wall right by where you are by General Mark Clark, the chairman of the American Battle Monuments Commission, 1969 to 1984. And he wrote, and I took a picture of it because it's written there, it says, "If ever proof were needed that we fought for a cause and not for conquest, it could be found in these cemeteries. Here was our only conquest. All we asked was enough soil in which to bury our gallant dead." 9,388 buried there. But there are cemeteries throughout Europe that has the names of people who lost their lives 80 years ago for a very important cause. Thank you both for being with us this morning. Appreciate it.